Hiya, and welcome back to the Gaily Digest. I think this week I'm going to be Joshua. How about
Does that mean you take all my anxiety and depression for the week as well?
that? No, no. Can I
Mm.
can I can I be you without that?
Sorry, it's a package deal.
Okay. Well, this week I'm Nigel then.
And I'm Joshua with the anxiety and the depression. Thank you very much.
Oh dear. So we are back this week, and we have got a few things in store for you today. We have got our usual news roundup. We've got a new regular feature, which is going to be Nigel and Joshua in conversation, where we're going to take a topic and we're going to talk about it. We've got our usual complaints closet. We've got a section that we're going to start called In Review, where we're going to start reviewing products, books, or anything that we take a fancy to. And we're also going to have the results to our competition. So there is one lucky winner who is going to be picked as the winner of two books of A Con Affair and Imaginary Remains by Joe Glass. And that's about it we've got for this episode. So, without further ado, let's crack on with the show. Welcome to the Gaily Digest's news roundup. We've got a couple of bits of LGBTQ plus related news that we're going to discuss with you today. And the first one that I found is a pride group that has criticised a homophobic church's plans. This one came out a couple of days ago. It's the Stafford Pride group has criticised a church known as the Redeemed Christian Church of God, which is otherwise known as RCCG. This church has been granted planning permission to move into a vacant 1930s building, which is actually opposite the Stafford Pride main office. The church has disturbingly homophobic beliefs, and the pastor for the church, Enoch Adeboye, interesting name given that he's homophobic, has briefly called homosexuality evil. He has said that gay marriage could bring about the end of civilization. But Stafford Pride have released a statement on social media saying that the RCCG has a disturbingly specific homophobic and anti-LGBTQ plus agenda and set of beliefs which we stand steadfast against. As a town, Stafford is very open, loving and welcoming. We saw this in August at the first Stafford Pride. This is the town we must continue to be. Um, the chairman of Stafford Pride actually spoke with BBC Radio Stoke, and he said that he was horrified at the church's incredibly hateful views, and he said that we won't give up on what we do. What we will do is call it out. We will always call out homophobia because we don't accept it in our town, which I think is absolutely right, and I think any kind of homophobia we should be standing up and saying no, that's not acceptable, it's not right. Same as any other kind of discrimination, whether it be about race, religion, even in this case, we're dealing with a religious group that are being homophobic. Religion is an excuse, but it's also not an excuse to be anti-religious. um, and any other kind of discrimination like disability discrimination, ableism, and sexism, misogyny, and things like that. Um, I mean, what do you think about that, Josh?
Well, first of all, I agree that that's quite an ironic name for a religious pastor. But it feels like they've chose that specific building on purpose because they would have known that their offices are over the road.
Yes,
And I'm sure they're gonna cause a lot more issues for the Pride
it would surprise me. It wouldn't
because
surprise me at all.
that's all they do, don't they? They just spread hatred and nothing really constructive.
You know what?
'Cause
Ironically, they're homophobic. They have homophobic views. Never miss a Pride event.
they've been to more Pride events than I have.
Oh, I do find that ironic that they never miss a Pride event. They're always there with their banners.
Oh,
Um,
bless them, painting their little banners the night before.
what news have you found this week?
I've been looking at a house hearing in America, which I actually watched a lot of the footage on The View, which is kind of like Loose Women in the UK, but it's in America. It's got like Whoopi Goldberg and stuff like that on it.
I love Whoopi.
I know, and Joy Behar. Oh, iconic. But yeah, they actually had a congresswoman, Sarah McBride, and she's the first elected trans congresswoman in America. And she was on the show a while ago, so they've quite latched onto this current topic. And she was at a House hearing in America, and she was supposed to be discussing um, like the safety of the country and like arms sales and security with the Europe and things like that. So quite a serious um, meeting to be having and discussing with everybody.
Yeah.
And whilst she was there, she was introduced by the chair of this committee, and he introduced her as Mr. McBride. And he knew exactly what he was doing because he took his time to say the sentence before he said it. But I will say she came back straight away with "Thank you, Madam Chair." But she didn't like it. Didn't sound like snappy or anything. She just went "Thank you, Madam Chair," like throwing it straight back at him. But then it was interrupted then by a fellow Democratic elected person called Bill Keating, and he called out this person and basically said, "Can you repeat what you just said?" And as soon as he said that, this chairman started to stutter his words. You could see him panicking. He was wondering what to do. And then he repeated it very slowly because he knew what he'd said. And then he repeated it and he called her Mr. McBride again. And at this point, Bill Keating said, "This is not decent. This is not acceptable," and told him that he should use the correct pronouns for a elected congresswoman who was elected by the public as a trans woman, and he repeatedly misgendered them, knowing exactly what he was doing. And rather than apologize and correct himself when this is quite a serious hearing they're having,
Yeah.
he just decided to slam his little gavel down and say, "No, adjourned, done, I'm off," and got up, and that was the end of the meeting.
Coward, basically.
Yeah, this is what people need to do though. If you hear somebody misgendering things, call them out on it
Yeah. No,
because
I agree.
they don't have that much power. They will call they think that's their trump card. They'll misgender you and that's it. That's all they've got. Now, if you call them out on it, they immediately start to crumble because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And
But
this is a perfect example of it because you saw him recoil and he didn't know what to do.
I think sometimes they think they're being smart and clever and funny um, in doing that, and they're probably not expecting people to call them out because they probably get so caught up in their own self-importance that they think, well, no one's going to challenge me. I can say what I like, I can do what I like. Um, Sod anyone else.
If the president's
And
doing it, why can't I? That's what they think
exactly,
of.
exactly. And um, you know, I want to say I'm shocked and surprised at that, but I'm not because the the anti-trans feeling and misgendering and abuse towards trans people, I think has got terribly out of control. Um, I I always make it clear that I stand 100% in solidarity with the trans community, as I know you do, and as I'm fairly certain anyone following this pod and listening to the pod also does, and quite rightly should stand by our trans siblings because they're facing what we faced as gay men in the late 80s and 90s. when we had Section 28.
Exactly. And I just want to add there, the chair is called Keith Self of Texas. He's the one who repeatedly misgendered. And then I just want to add that Bill Keating is a Massachusetts Democrat, and that's Sarah's colleague.
Mm,
And this is what a real ally is. He did not stand for that kind of behavior.
yeah,
And he was like slamming his hand on the table, going, "This is not acceptable. Do you have any decency?" And this is what you need to do. You don't just need to sit by and let it happen or just say, "Oh, they can defend themselves." That's not good enough anymore at the moment. You need to stand up and you need to say something. And when you
mm,
do, they start to learn that you can't just do this and you're not just
mm,
going to get a free pass of it. You're going to get
yeah.
called out and we're going to make you feel uncomfortable
But this is
and
the
you're not
thing. I
going to
mean,
like it.
yeah. I mean, it must feel so isolating when trans people are getting treated like that, and they must feel so alone when there are people that aren't standing up and supporting them. And for people to actually stand up and say, no, this isn't right, this is wrong, this isn't acceptable. Um, I'm going to make a stand and I'm going to say what I need to say because it needs to be said, and I'm going to defend my colleague and my friend. They don't deserve this treatment because of who they are. And quite rightly, and I think, that allyship and standing up for your friend or your colleague, or even people that you don't know, when you see that they are facing this kind of abuse, even if you don't know them personally, um, that opens up a whole new door to them feeling like I'm not in a room on my own anymore. The door's been opened and I've got the support. So, it is right that we do make sure that we show that we stand by and support our trans siblings.
Exactly. And imagine how scary it must feel to be misgendered. You're going to feel attacked, you're going to feel unsafe.
Mm,
And then imagine that nobody speaks up.
yeah,
Nobody says anything and you just feel small and on your own. And then as soon as somebody says, "That's not okay, I'm
mm,
calling you out on it," that makes you feel safer because you know there's somebody in the room that's got your back. You're not on your own. And this
100%.
is this is what people need to start doing with any kind of discrimination and things. Call it out
Yeah,
because they're counting on you being quiet and saying nothing.
yeah,
If you call them out on it, you're holding the mirror up to their face and
yeah.
showing them you ain't getting away with that.
And that's why allyship is so important, and it is needed.
Exactly.
And welcome to Nigel and Joshua in Conversation, the first of one of our new regular features. This week, what are we going to be talking about, Joshua?
We're going to talk about drag queens
Ooh,
and
I
our drag
like
names.
drag names. Yes,
But
that
it's a bit
definite
confusing
must.
how you work it out, so I'll let you talk about that because it's confusing for me.
Should we leave that to the end,
Sure.
and then we can invite people to come up with their drag names as well, can't we? Because there is a way of
Yes.
working it out, but we'll go on. We'll go on to that near the end. Um, so drag queens, they are fabulous for a start. Um, Drag has been an art form for, well, centuries, hasn't it? I think even dating back to Shakespearean times. Drag has been an art form in panto. And drag can be entertainment for all the family. It's not just adult entertainment, although you do tend to find a lot of drag queens these days do tend to focus on the more adult entertainment. Um, I've seen a few drag queens myself over the years. Um, some of the more prominent ones spring to mind from the local scene for me. There's Drag with No Name. There's Lola Lasagna, Wilma Fingerdo. I just love the play on words with some of these names. You've got Lavoie, who is now very famous, very popular. I've seen her live a few times. Miss Jason, who sadly passed away last year, was an absolutely fantastic fantastic drag performer. Absolutely loved Miss Jason. Have you seen any, Josh?
I actually haven't because I'm from a very tiny little village in the middle of nowhere, so we
You were the
don't
only
really,
you were the
we
only
don't.
gay.
Well, I hope not. I've got one living with me as well. No, but I've never really seen much, to be honest, because I am from a little tiny village, so you don't really get that around here. But I did go to Blackpool for my 18th birthday, and I did walk into a drag bar. This is before I came out, so I was like, oh God, what do I do?
Where do you stand? What do you do?
But
How do you behave?
I am very much into watching drag race, and obviously I'm quite active on social media, so I'll see a lot of drag on there and things like that. So it's not an unknown to me, but I just haven't really been to that many shows because again, I'm not really near any cities that do big drag and things like that. Obviously, I've seen some drag queens at some prides I've been to as well.
You
So I
mentioned
guess
you mentioned that you're in a village and there's not really any drag entertainment. I think I remember recently there was an advert on one of your local pages on social media um, where there was actually a drag show or drag bingo.
yeah, I think I have seen that, but it's not that often, and then the tickets sell out so fast that I've never been, which is probably a good thing actually,
I think
that
we
they
should
sell
go.
out so fast.
I think we should go.
You have to be quick because they do sell out very quickly, and because it's in a location that's quite small, it's quite a limited amount of tickets to
Spaces.
get in. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, if you were to pick a favorite drag queen, who would you pick out of the ones that you've seen, whether it be in person or on TV or on shows or anything?
I think the one that comes straight to my mind is Tammy Brown because they are absolutely bonkers and I love them. They honestly, there is no other drag queen like Tammy Brown. They are their drag is just it's bizarre. You never know what you're going to get, and you never know how they're going to act. They're just bizarre. That's all I can say about Tammy Brown. I think anyone that's watched Tammy Brown will understand that they are completely true to themselves, but they're very bonkers. And I love that. And plus, they're
Like,
the only ones I've ever seen that actually stand up for themselves against like RuPaul and Michelle Visage. They bite back. They don't take any crap off anybody. They'll bite back on you straight away. So
we do like the bonkers
I'll
though.
have to make you watch some videos of Tammy Brown because they're so funny. They're just naturally funny, everything they say. And then sometimes they'll go on a tandem of something else, like tangent, sorry. They'll say something else, and then I'll be like, what are you on about?" They just go off on a completely different subject, and it just makes no sense, but they still make you laugh. So I'm gonna have
Because
to get you to watch some of those.
I do like the variety of drag queens as well. I mean, you've got drag queens that will just get up and do some stand-up comedy. You've got some that will interact with the crowd. You've got some that will um, be singing. There's others that will lip sync as well. I mean, I've seen some drag acts where all they do is lip sync. There's no stand up. There's no anything else. It's literally just them get up and lip syncing and um, doing all the motions and everything as well. Um, but I like the ones where you a nice bit of all round, a bit of singing, bit of dancing, bit of stand up, just generally taking the piss, and having a good time. Um, I mean, one that stands out for me is Drag with No Name. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. Um, brilliant drag artist. Um, I suppose famous for having like Marge Simpson style hair, not blue, blonde, but sort of the sort of shape and the height of it as well. Um, Absolutely hilarious. I've seen her a number of times out on the Brighton scene, in the Essex scene, and all over where she's been. Um, but yeah, for me with drag, it's that variety, and I think drag queens they've kind of been hauled through. the mud a little bit over recent times because of the whole trans issue and trans rights and people conflating drag artists with transgender people, and they're completely different. They should never be put in the same basket as each other. Um, and a lot of these people that moan and complain about drag queens went to see pantos growing up and probably still take their kids to see pantos when you've got drag queens in panto already.
Exactly.
I just, for me, it's just a little bit of faux outrage. Um, but I mean, we even have drag story time these days, and people are getting up in arms about that. And I fail to understand why. Because if you're going to take your kid to a panto where a lot of the jokes are adult jokes, but they're done in such a way that the adults get it and the kids don't. Whereas drag story time is literally just someone in fancy colours, all dressed up, something that's visually entertaining to children, and they're telling a story, and they're not making the story filthy, dirty, inappropriate, or anything like that. They are literally just telling a story, and it's entertaining, and the kids love it. But you get
Exactly. And the whenever they try and make it dirty or sexual, that's just their own thoughts in their own head they're making up. So that says more about them than anybody else. Because it's like same with gay people and trans people. They always go on about, in fact, they talk about gay sex and stuff more than we do. They have a very high interest in something that they apparently don't like.
maybe they secretly want it.
Maybe. They probably do. The ones that talk about things the most are often the ones that want it. They're just jealous because we just enjoy life and they just like to be behind a keyboard and getting angry at literally everything.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's that faux outrage that they create. Um, but and drag queens, I think, get the bad end of it sometimes, and it's rather unfair and unjustified. Um, but it's just I just love seeing. I'd love to go to a drag bar or a drag show and just watch and be entertained again because I
I do
haven't actually.
I do love comical drag queens the most. They're my favorite
Mm,
because the ones that tell, because I have quite a crude sense of humor.
I
So
know.
if you tell me dark jokes, I'll love it. I love that kind of thing. So when you get drag queens that tell really dark, crude jokes, I'm all over that. Especially when they're really shady and they read people. I'll just love that because that's quite my personality is a bit like that. I like to be a bit shady with people. Um, but yeah, they're my favorite kind of drag queens. If I see a drag queen on TV and they start being shady and things, not nasty, but like you're playing with people. You're just being a little, you're being a bit shady, or they make jokes that like sounds like a compliment, but it isn't. That's my favorite kind of thing. I really like
The
those.
subtle dig that someone's
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, thanks very much." I wasn't being nice. It's it reminds me of I like it when you get two drag queens together on a show or something like that, and they're shady with each other, and they're proper bitching about each other to each other. Um, and it reminds me of. Did you ever see the Weakest Link drag special many years ago when Anne Robinson hosted it?
Yeah.
There was they were so shady. I mean, obviously it was family entertainment time. It
Yeah.
was shown at a time when they couldn't be rude or anything like that. But but they would have little subtle digs at each other about their hair, the wigs and stuff like that. And they'd have a dig at Anne Robinson about their wigs being better than hers and stuff like that. But I remember when one of them, when they go around and say, "Who do you think's the weakest link?" and then they put the board up and then say the name. Um, one of them, I can't remember which one it was. One of them lifted the board up, and of course, the one they voted for was next to them, and the one next to them that they'd voted for literally just went turned and looked in such a shocked way, sort of putting the hand on their chest in such a camp way. It was hilarious.
The gay
Absolutely.
gasp.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. But that's what I love about them. They're just so funny. They're so quick-witted as well. You know, the comedy timing that they have is absolutely brilliant. And I kind of, I kind of wish I could have that kind of quick wit and that kind of entertaining nature to be able to do that myself because I just think it's incredibly entertaining. It's incredibly hilarious.
I would say that you are quite quick with your replies like that and stuff because I think a lot of gay people are because when we was at school, a lot of us were bullied and stuff, so we kind
Mm,
of built up this. I did personally. I built up like a very quick. I can be a bit shady and sarcastic and quick responding to you because that was kind of like my little defense barrier because I was never physical, so my defense was to be a bit shady back at you or a bit sarcastic back at you. So I think a lot of us learned that at school because
yeah,
I'm quite quick at responding to things. If you try and be a bit nasty to me, I can be quite quick shady back, but
I'd
you won't
never be nasty
realize.
to you. I'd never be nasty to you.
Yeah, but when I'm
I,
being shady with you and
I'd
yeah.
regret it if I was.
When I'm being shady or a bit bitchy with you, you know it's a place of affection because I only do that really with people I really like. But yeah, I think a lot of us did build that up at school. I think it's kind of a bit of a defensive kind of thing to
Yeah.
be quick-witted. So yeah,
So drag names. Drag names. Obviously, we mentioned a few. There is a way. They say there is a way of working out what your drag name is. Now, I'm pretty sure I've got this right. Your drag name is the name of your first pet with the name of the first road you lived in. What was yours?
see, mine's got see this. I don't like the way that you work these out because mine's going to be terrible.
What's yours going to
Mine is
be?
literally Sam St. George's. What kind of drag name is that? If that got announced on a stage before I
You'd
walked out
walk
in
out.
drag, everyone would be like, is it just some person gonna walk out with a gammon flag wrapped around them? What
Gammon flag.
like what kind of name is that? God.
Oh dear. Mine's no better. Mine's no
Go on then.
better. Right. Are you ready?
Go on then.
Tiger Claw Hatch.
See, that sounds more like a drag name than bloody Sam St. George's.
Oh yeah, Tiger Claw Hatch. My first pet was a cat called Tiger, and she was called Tiger because of her the markings on her fur, on her coat, and she did look a bit like a tiger. She wasn't actually a tiger. She was actually a proper cat.
Turns out she was actually a tiger.
Oh dear, yeah. But obviously, I would never if I was ever to do drag, I would never have that name. I would never have that name. So I had some time to think of what I would use as my drag name,
Right.
and I think I've come up with one that's perfect but crude, and it's kind of fitting with a drag name. And I'm pretty certain there isn't one with this name out there at the moment.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Litany Smears.
Oh, God.
I'd
I
come
don't
on
know.
the I'd come on the stage, scratch my crotch, and say, "It's the clip
Literally.
the itch. It's the clip the
Oh,
itch."
God. Someone's gonna steal that now,
No,
trademark
no,
it.
no. Trademark, copyrighted. You've heard it here first. That is my drag name. Nobody is stealing it. If anyone steals it, tough shit. What
Oh
about you?
dear.
Have you come up with a different one that's better than Sam St George's?
Sam St. George's. Um, I was thinking, although I'm not really good at these names. What about Maya Pants Down? How's that?
Oh, yes. Or little dig at the anti-trans um wretch. Maya Foreskin.
I always call her Maya Foreskin. I call her it so often now I don't actually remember what her actual name is. I wonder how many people know who we're talking about. I bet they will.
Oh, 100%, 100%. There'll be some there'll be a lot out there that'll be like, "Yep, we know who you're talking about." And now it's time for the complaints closet, where we get a little bit moany, and Josh lets out his inner moany bitch. Isn't that right,
Always.
Josh?
Oh, it's my favourite part of the whole thing.
What are you going to moan about this week then?
Well, I've been told that I keep moaning about people too much, so
You do.
this time I'm gonna moan about animals,
Oh, that's interesting.
specifically the ones that live in my house, because two of them in specifics out of all of them is the cat and the chihuahua. Now the cat, Sky, she's the queen of gaslighting. She will come up to me at 2 in the morning and she'll be nuzzling my face, licking my cheek and stuff. It's all cute. And then she just bites my face. Or she'll come up to me, nuzzle me, I'll stroke her, she's all lovely, and then she wraps around my arm and starts clawing me to death. Gaslighting. She's making me think that she wants cuddles and then she's evil. And she does this every night at 2 in the morning. She will bite my face.
Do you think she's set an alarm clock?
No, I think she's just a bitch. And this is after she had a £2,000 vet bill to get rid of cancer. And this is how she repays me. She repays me by attacking me.
You've given her a new lease of life, haven't you?
Yeah, the new lease of life, to bite my face.
Yeah, but it's probably things she couldn't do before because she was too exhausted.
I think that's just cats in general. Cats are just gaslighters. Well, and then I'm moving on to my chihuahua. He's my little goblin. I love him. He looks like Baby Yoda. But
Like Grogu.
he needs to pee like 57,000 times a day. It ain't normal. And yes, he's been to the vets and tested and all that stuff. He's fine. But you'll let him out because he'll want to go outside. So he'll go out in the garden. He'll wee about 5 times. He'll stay out there for like 20 minutes. He'll come in. And what does he do? Runs in the kitchen and pisses up the fridge after like 10 seconds of coming back in. And I'm just like,
maybe he's warming it up.
Yeah, but I walked to the kitchen and I'm like, what has just happened? And where does it all come from for starters?
It'd be all the drink he's having, all the water he's having.
He does it every time and he drives me mad. I've never known a dog. It must be a chihuahua thing because the toy poodle doesn't do this. But he just always needs a wee. You'll let him out, he'll do all the wees and stuff, and then he'll come in and just pee somewhere. So now when he comes in, I have to follow him for like 10 minutes because I know he's going to do it. And then when he does do it, he doesn't care if you're next to him looking at him. He'll just look you in the eyes. And he'll be like, and what?
To be fair, I've caught him when I've been there.
Yeah, you've stood in it.
Yeah, thanks.
So now I'm living in fear.
That was a soggy sock.
So now I'm living in fear of when the lights aren't on. Because I don't know where I can stand. That's my 2 annoyances that I'm going to complain about. I love my animals, but oh my God, they can be very annoying.
Animal traits, then, is your complaint this week?
Specifically cats and chihuahuas. The ones that bite my face and pee all over my floor. What do you want to complain about? Is yours people related?
Yes, no.
Or body fluids?
No.
It's always one of those.
No. My little moan is about things that find themselves in places where you wouldn't expect to find them. So
is that one of them I slipped in the bathroom situations?
No. You know when you're driving along the motorway or something, and then you randomly see a shoe in the middle of the carriageway. One shoe. or you can
Yes.
be or you can be walking down the street, and then there's some power cables that are going over from one building to the other across the street, and there's a pair of shoes that are tied to it in the middle somehow, and you think, where the hell did they come from? Who put them up there? How did they get up there?
What is the
Or
backstory of the shoe?
exactly, I don't know. And then you think, well, hang on a minute, are people walking around barefoot? Have they lost their shoes whilst out on a drunken night out? How have they got it up there? You know, and we're talking of like a small sort of thin cable, like the sort you'd get, um, like a power cable that goes from one building across to the other. Um, or when you're walking around woodland or fields or something like that, and you see dog poo bags tied up to or hung up on a bush or a tree branch or something like that, and you think, okay, that's people being lazy and just tying it to it. But it's when you see them on a branch really high up that's sticking out, and you think, and it's tied onto it, and you think, what do they do? Bring a ladder with them?
It's a giant.
But and it's like, how do they get? It really infuriates me when things like that get left laying around, particularly the dog's mess, because I think if you're gonna have a dog and you're gonna pick up the mess, yeah, it's great you're picking it up, but actually put it in a bin, carry it with you until you get to a bin.
And
Don't tie it.
you'll have people saying, "Oh, the bags are biodegradable, so it's
Yeah,
fine."
yeah, in about a year's time.
And then when they degrade, that's when it drops out and lands on someone.
Yeah, but by then it's all dried and solid and probably white.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Although I
it's
will say, you've somehow came back around to bodily functions, even if it's of an animal's.
but then we've got a bit of an animal theme running here. Yours is animals, mine's
Although mine
animals,
was also about well, body
bodily
functions as
functions.
well.
Yes,
There's a
yeah,
theme. There's a
about
theme
Oscar
going on
about Oscar
here.
peeing, about Oscar peeing everywhere.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't get it. Why? How? I mean, particularly the thing with the shoes. There's one shoe. I mean, what happens? Is it people driving along and then someone takes someone's shoe off and chucks it out of a window so that it lands in the middle of the carriageway? Um,
Well, I have had some messy drinking days in my teens, and I can say very proudly I've never lost a shoe. I've lost many things, but not a shoe.
but how do they? I just don't get it. Where do these shoes come from, or boots, or anything like that? Um, I mean, I've seen bowling shoes hanging from a wire that's
That's
going
probably kid.
across the street.
I think the things on the wires, that's probably kids. That's a very 90s thing to do.
Mm. But they're tied to it. That's the thing, and it's like, how have you got it tied to it in the middle of the cable across the middle of the street? I could get if they've chucked it up there and it's hung over, but you can see it's tied to it. It's almost like someone's got a massive ladder in the middle of the night and put it up there.
It's a mystery. You'll never know.
No. Mind you, maybe someone listening might have had that happen to them, and maybe they've done it or seen someone do it and can sort of let us know. It's a mystery.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to hold my breath at all. Welcome to In Review, which is going to be a segment that we're going to do as regularly as we can, where we're going to review anything, basically. It could be a product, something that we've bought. It could be something we've seen at the cinema, something we've seen on TV, a book that we've read. And we're gonna take turns in picking something that we just want to talk about and review, in the hope that it might encourage our listeners to find something that they might enjoy. Um, so I'll start with this one, and I'm going to start with something that I purchased recently, which only came out recently as well, which was the Doctor Who season 7 box set on Blu-ray, known as the collection set, which the BBC have been releasing over a period of time, releasing entire seasons of Doctor Who for collectors to purchase. I have to say the season 7 collection set, I think it's amazing. for a start. I'm a bit biased because I'm a big Doctor Who fan. Um, but I obviously mention this and want to review this because Doctor Who does have a large LGBTQ plus following, and there are a lot of Doctor Who fans out there that might listen to this, and people that listen to this might themselves be Doctor Who fans anyway. Um, so it got released last week, on Monday last week, and it consists of 4 stories. We've got Spearhead from Space. We've got Doctor Who and the Silurians, which uh, they've done a omnibus edition known as, which they've retitled The Cave Monsters. There is the 3rd story, which is The Ambassadors of Death, and there is the 4th story, which is Inferno. Now, this season was iconic in its own right, really, because it was the first season that was made and filmed and broadcast in colour since the black and white era ended in 1969, and it was the first season to feature John Pertwee as the new Doctor, and it was also hailed as the start of the James Bond era of Doctor Who because John Pertwee, as the Doctor, loved his gadgets. Um, it was different in another way, in that the Doctor was exiled to Earth. He's not traveling through time and space in the TARDIS. The TARDIS has been stranded on Earth, and the Doctor's not got the ability to be able to fly it because all of his knowledge has been
Is he
eradicated from his mind.
is he not with the AA? No.
No,
Oh,
no. Time
see,
time Time Lords don't have the AA.
maybe there's a AA version for Time Lords. Imagine the premiums on that.
Oh dear. Oh dear God. But yeah, there's some good stories in this season. Spearhead from Space, they've done some really good restoration work on that. They've improved the picture quality. They've made it so much more sharper because it was all filmed on film, without any studio recording. They've improved the sound quality because mainly because it was all filmed on locations. There were a lot of echoes in the sound because they didn't have the kind of studio sound, the buffering that they used to prevent that kind of sound going off. Um, they've One thing I'm disappointed with this box set, and it is a bugbear of mine, and there's probably a good reason for it. But all previous box sets have had stories that have had a sort of the standout stories of the season box sets. They have a 5.1 surround sound mix, which I like because I've got a 5.1 surround sound system. But disappointingly, on this box set, none of the 4 stories have got a 5.1 surround sound soundtrack.
I know you like your surround sound.
It, I find it immersive. I like it. It immerses you into the drama of what's going on. And when you get all the sounds coming around you as well, you're kind of in there and you kind of like, oh, where did that sound come from? I think it would have been great on the Silurians because they're in the caves. There are a lot of scenes where they go into the caves, which are meant to be on Wenley Moor in, I think, Derbyshire.
Well, the echoes would be quite good with surround sound, wouldn't they, in the cave?
Yeah,
That would
yeah,
make you feel like you're in there.
and you've got like the sounds of dripping water, hearing them sort of coming around you, and even then, where there's scenes where the Silurians come out from um, behind the rocks or from gaps through the caves, hearing them footsteps behind you or something. I think that would have added to the feel of it. And it's an optional extra. You don't have to listen to it. You can listen to it with the original audio. But yeah, that was something that was a little bit disappointing for me. But there's probably a very good reason for it. It could be budgetary. It could be the sound wasn't great enough for them to be able to create a surround sound soundtrack from it. Um, but but yeah, they released it with a second disc with the Cave Monsters, which is a 90-minute omnibus edition, so it is cut down, and there are some scenes cut out from the main story, but they've condensed it to make it more dramatic and flow a lot quicker. Because the main story is 7 parts, which is about just under 3 hours, so it's quite a long story.
See, as I spoke earlier, I would need to pee during that many times. That's a very long viewing.
Yeah, but there's 7 episodes. There's 7 episodes broken down in 25 minutes.
Yeah, but you're one of these people who has to watch them all in a row. You can't
Yeah,
stop.
yeah.
So
But if you want to pee, you just go during the credits.
you're putting a time on me now. It's stressful. But yeah, for anybody that hasn't seen them, like me, give us a little brief of what each one's about.
Okay. Spearhead from space. Meteorites crash on Earth. Um, I say they crash on Earth. They land, which is quite unusual. The Doctor arrives on Earth, and he's in hospital because he's been found collapsed in some woodland. The meteorites that landed on Earth are not meteorites or not normal meteorites. They contain an intelligence known as the Nestine consciousness. The Nestine consciousness has an affinity to plastic and manages to infiltrate a plastics factory where they create lots of plastic mannequins. These plastic mannequins get filtered out through shop windows, shop window dummies, Madame Tussauds as well. And these shop window dummies and plastic mannequins in Madame Tussauds, once they receive a signal, they come to life. And in their hand, they have guns.
Does that mean you'll have Queen
And
Liz and Madonna marching around with a gun in their hand?
yeah, that'd be interesting.
I hope that's in there.
No, I
Oh,
mean,
so missed the
this
mark on that
to
one.
be fair, this was 1970.
They were
When did
around then.
Yeah, but when did Madonna come to her fame? It was probably
I could at
after that,
least have
wasn't it?
Queen Liz. I wouldn't mind seeing her marching around London with a gun.
Could you imagine Queen Liz walking down old Compton Street with a gun
She
coming out
waves
of
her
her
hand in
hand?
the air and then got you.
Oh dear. But that's that one.
Yeah.
Doctor Who and the Silurians, the second story. Um, there's a nuclear power plant that's been built into the caves in Wenley Moor in Derbyshire, and they've been suffering some power failures, power losses. They don't know where they're coming from, so UNIT, which is the military organisation that the Doctor becomes affiliated with, gets called in, and the Doctor gets called in as well, and they soon discover that there's something going on in the caves. When they start investigating, people go missing, people get attacked by creatures, and it turns out that these creatures are the Silurians, which are a species of humanoid reptilians that are not aliens. They didn't come from another planet. They originated on Earth. And I like that concept.
Are they really
The
aliens then if they were here first?
We're the aliens technically,
There you go then.
but I
I
like
think
that.
didn't I read the book on that? You suggested the book
Yes,
and I read the book.
the
I know
book was actually called The Cave Monsters.
Ash also played us the audio book when we drove to yours one time.
Yes.
It was a very dramatic drive.
But yeah, that's that story. And I like the concept that the alien threat, should I say in inverted commas, doesn't come from outer space. It's not an invasion coming from another planet. It's actually a species that originates on the planet that feel that we're the invaders and want to take their planet back. But because human civilization has developed so much, it's almost like it becomes a war of species, a civil war as such, perhaps. Um, which interestingly is probably going to be the concept of the new spin-off series that's going to be coming out. I think at some point this year, the war between the land and the sea, which is featuring the sea devils, which are a species related to the Silurians. But anyway, that's that story. Ambassadors of Death. A
Sounds nice.
Yeah, that's about a Mars probe is returning from Mars. The astronaut they can't get hold of the astronaut, so they send up a recovery probe that docks with um, this ship. Unfortunately, something goes wrong, and that astronaut disappears. Unit gets drafted in, and they get involved, and they discover that the astronauts come down to Earth, but there's something not quite right about them, and they've been replaced. They've been replaced by
Mm.
aliens. Um, and it turns out there's a little twist in the story which I don't really want to give away um, for anyone that might want to watch it. There is a little twist in the story, and it's not as all as it seems. Not as all as it seems. What is the real threat? Is it the aliens or is it something else? And I'm going to leave it at that one.
Intriguing.
And the final story, Inferno, is it's a story. Again, this is another personal favourite of mine, where the threat is sort of homegrown. Um, Professor Stallman is a bit of a mad professor. He is in charge of a project where they are drilling to the Earth's core. He believes that by drilling to the Earth's core, they will discover gas that will bring about new fuel for everyone, and it'll be a really powerful fuel and so on. But in drilling to the center of the Earth, there is a primordial slime that comes up through uh, the outtake valve, and it leaks out. And when it makes contact with people, it transforms them into creatures because it mutates them into creatures.
Sounds like Ghostbusters.
It mutates them into creatures, and they start going on a bit of a rampage. But also, another twist, it involves a parallel universe as well. So this parallel universe is ahead of the current one,
Mm.
and the Doctor discovers when he goes across the parallel universe that the because it's so far ahead, when they actually break into the Earth's core, it literally cracks the planet like an egg, and all the forces from the Earth's core break out and start coming up and cracking the Earth open, and it's basically the end of the world.
And then we all die.
And that's the threat that faces us, and the Doctor has to get back to save the world before that happens. But he's also got to tackle these monsters that are hard to kill.
Interesting. What colour
Yeah,
is the slime? That's my main thought. What colour is it?
your favourite colour. It's
Green.
green.
Oh, it's flubber.
It does actually look like that. I'll show you the story one day,
Just
and
not as
you'll
friendly.
just no, it's not as friendly. It mutates you. It doesn't bounce either.
Mm.
It doesn't
So what
bounce.
does the case and things look like? 'Cause I've seen quite a few of yours, and I know some of them are metal, like steel. Some of them aren't.
Yeah, the collection box sets they're not metal. The steel books are the animation ones, but the collection box sets they're like a quite a sturdy card, thick card, limited edition box sets.
Like a book.
Um, yes, Lee Binding does the cover art on it, and he does absolutely astounding work on it. Um, as always, it has the Doctor that features in that box set standing in a pose from that season in the costume that was used in that season, and then it has the monsters that are involved in the centre near his chest. And this cover is quite colourful. It's sort of orange, green. It's got purples. It's got pinks. It's got the Doctor standing holding one of the meteorites that holds the Nestine consciousness, and it's got the ambassador, the Auton, which is the mannequins from the first story. It's got a Silurian, and it's got a Primord, which is the creature that I mentioned gets created from the primordial slime in the final story, Inferno. That also notably has a 90-minute condensed omnibus edition as well. And I think that one would have benefited from the surround sound because of when the whole end of the world thing's happening, and when you're in the drilling section as well, all the sounds and everything, it would have just added to the atmosphere. Um, that's my only little gripe, I think, with that box set. I mean, it's full full of special features, and they've done incredible work on the picture and sound quality, especially given that they were working with um, such poor quality footage in the first place. Um, there are some. I've seen some comments from people out there where they're saying it doesn't look that much different. No, it doesn't look that much different. It does look better in places, in parts of the episodes, um, but we have to understand that even with today's technology, there's only so much they can do to improve the poor quality of 1970s vintage television. There's only so much they can do. So, but yeah, that's that. It's available in all good stores such as Amazon. You can get it in HMV. Um, it is 54.99, but it's worth it. It is worth it. And unfortunately, if you don't get it soon, then price goes up because they're limited editions.
The
They go out of
scalpers strike.
absolutely. I mean, I've seen previous box sets on there on eBay for like nearly 250 quid, and I'm like, no,
It's the same as your Doctor Who figures, though. They, within 2 days of them being out, they're on eBay for like 3 times the price. But I know
yeah,
you've sent me a picture of this box set. So, as someone who isn't such a humongous Doctor Who nerd like you are, I'm going to describe it for people who don't watch Doctor Who. You ready?
go on them.
So, you've got the Doctor. He seems to want to play football because he's holding a lovely pink football out to you, saying, "Do you want a game?" Then there's these four characters underneath him. Now I'm going to describe these. The top one looks a bit like Vision from WandaVision and Marvels.
Yeah, I see that.
Then the right one looks like Joan Rivers. Rest her soul. Then the bottom one looks like a werewolf man.
Yeah.
And then the guy on the left kind of looks like an astronaut Power Ranger. I don't know what any of them are, but that's what they look like in case you haven't seen them before.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's the box set. If you're into Doctor Who, I'd recommend it. For me, it's a solid 9 out of 10. It loses a point just for the simple fact that it doesn't have the 5.1 surround sound, which for some of you isn't going to be a problem. You're probably not going to be bothered by that. But for me, that's my view on it. That's my opinion. And yeah, not all opinions are right, but for me, that's what works for me.
For
But
you, it is right.
absolutely, absolutely, spot on, spot on. Since we recorded this pod, sadly, news broke that David Raven, who was Maisie Trollet, the UK's oldest drag queen, passed away. Joshua and I felt it wouldn't be right to put this episode out so soon after this news has broken without paying tribute to David. So we're going to pay tribute to David, to Maisie Trollet, and we're going to read out a little tribute and share this with you now. So David Raven was known to the world as Maisie Trollet. David passed away in the early hours of March the 12th, 2025, at the age of 91. As Britain's oldest performing drag queen, Maisie Trollet was a trailblazer who captivated audiences for over 5 decades, leaving an indelible mark on the LGBTQ+ community and the world of entertainment.
Born in St Ives, Cornwall in 1933, David Raven began his career in the 1960s as one half of the drag duo The Trollettes, alongside James Court. The pair became regulars on the London drag scene, performing at iconic venues such as the Black Cap in Camden and the Royal Vauxhall Tavern. Known for their live singing, a departure from the common practice of miming at the time, the duo set a new standard in drag performance.
In the late 1970s, Raven relocated to Brighton, where he became a cornerstone of the local LGBTQ+ community. His involvement with Brighton Pride dates back to its inception in 1973, and he remained a steadfast participant throughout the years. His performances were also a staple at venues like the Two Brewers, where he entertained countless patrons with his sharp wit and captivating presence.
Beyond the stage, Maisie Trollet was deeply committed to philanthropy, raising thousands of pounds for charities nationwide. His enduring legacy and contributions to the LGBTQ+ community was celebrated in the 2022 documentary Maisie, which offered an intimate look into his life and his career.
Tributes have poured in from across the entertainment world. The Royal Vauxhall Tavern, a venue where Maisie frequently performed, expressed their condolences, highlighting his trailblazing role in British drag. Fellow performers, including Drag Race UK star Lavoie, remembered him as a true cabaret legend, reflecting on the fond memories and invaluable advice he shared.
David Raisin's life as Maisie Trollet was a testament to resilience, passion, and unwavering dedication to the art of drag. His legacy will continue to inspire future generations of performers, and he will be deeply missed by all who had the privilege of witnessing his remarkable journey.
Now, we mentioned in that the documentary Maisie, which did offer an intimate look into his life and career. And we actually watched that recently. And I have to say, it was inspiring. It was eye-opening. It was joyful. There were a lot of happy moments, a lot of funny moments, and I think it showed his the level of his wit and his sense of humour, and it was just spot on, absolutely spot on. And it was also sad because you kind of saw how he was clearly getting to the end of his career, of his life, but he didn't let that stop him. He wanted to carry on. He wanted to continue. He wanted to give to the community entertainment and fun and joy, and that's what he lived for. And there was a really lovely moment where there was Maisie Trollet, Miss Jason, who also is sadly not with us anymore, sadly passed away last year, and Dave Lynn, three iconic drag queens of the Brighton scene, and they were sat together in the living room practicing for a performance they were all going to do together, and seeing them all sat there, the wit, the digs, the, the mockery, the sharp wit that they had with each other was just thoroughly entertaining. And I think you even commented, Joshua, didn't you, that that's going to be us?
Well, their banter and the way they talk to each other is how me, you, and Ash talk to each other. Like they don't hesitate to call each other all sorts and make comments on their age and stuff like that. But yeah, that documentary, because we watched it again recently, and honestly, seeing the history of the career is incredible. And it was sad in parts because you could see how they'd had this huge career, and then now in the modern day it's kind of like died down a lot. They're not really getting any bookings, things like that. But seeing how far back they started and everything they'd done, it's incredible to watch. And I do encourage people to watch that documentary because it shows
Yeah.
you the people that walked before us and the people that lay the ground that we now walk on.
Yeah. I mean, if people want to see it, it is on Prime, Amazon Prime TV. So you can see it there if you've got a Prime subscription. You don't need to get any additional subscriptions for it. Or you can rent it on Apple TV. I don't think there's anywhere else where it's available. Actually, you can rent or buy it on Apple TV. It's $3.99 on Apple TV. So if anyone wants to get that, if they haven't got the Prime subscription, they can do. But it's certainly a very insightful documentary, I think, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And there were lots of moments where he came out with some really cracking one-liners, and I was cackling away watching it. But David Raven, aka Maisie Trolette, rest in power. You've lived your life, and you have been amazing. It's now time to announce the results of our competition. So we've got our winner, haven't we, Josh?
We do indeed.
Yes, but before we do that, whilst we were off air a few moments ago, you actually came up with your drag name, didn't you? Which we met because we mentioned drag names earlier,
Yes.
and now you've had a light bulb moment, haven't you? You've had like a moment of you had an epiphany.
It's very on brand for me.
Yes. So, other than Sam St. George, what is your drag name gonna be if you were to do
Well,
drag?
since I'm of a certain age now where I need to, well, I can't make it through a whole film in a cinema without going to the loo. It's,
Getting old.
I know, it's my drag name can be Anita P. Because we said we're gonna have a break. I went, right, I'm going there 'cause I really need to pee, and I've been waiting for ages while recording this. And then as I was running to pee, I thought, oh, I need to pee. That's a good one.
So
This is why the best ideas are when you're in the bathroom.
Yes.
See, yeah, Anita P. I'm not going to be Sam St. George's. I'm going to be Anita P.
So Anita,
That's Anita P to you.
We have got a winner for our competition. We've had a few entries, haven't we?
Yeah.
They've either quoted the post on Blue Sky. They've either emailed us to our email address. No one's replied though yet to the YouTube video. Anyway, so out of all of those, we've put them into a random generator, which we will post on our socials to show how we've come to the to reveal the winner. So Joshua, I'm not gonna do a drum roll because
Doesn't pick up on the mic.
What? That, and I haven't got a drum.
Terrible planning, Nigel. Although earlier we did say, should we try a drum roll? And you went, can you hear this? I went, nope. So it was just you like whacking your hands up and down, and there was no sound.
Right, enough procrastination. Our winner is
Ben.
Well done, Ben. Well done, Ben. Congratulations. There was only one Ben that entered, so Ben will know which one he is.
We don't know Ben's last name, do we?
No, we don't.
No. See, so that would have been awkward if it was more than one Ben.
It would have been.
Although I would have said the Pokemon Ben.
The Pokemon Ben.
Yes, that's how I remember Ben.
Well, his Blue Sky handle, I think, reads out hexblack.bsky.social, but the E is a 3 and the L is a 7. So I think that's what it is. But yes, congratulations, Ben. You have won a copy of each of those 2 books by Joe Glass, Imaginary Remains and A Con Affair. You got the answer right to our question, which was, what is the primary art that Aaron creates in A Con Affair? And that was, what was it, Joshua?
Comics.
Yay! Anyway, congratulations to Ben. That is literally all we've got time for on this episode. We hope that you've had a fun time listening. We hope that you have enjoyed the content that we've had this time. And we will see you next time. Won't we, Joshua?
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.